Hello everyone, welcome to round 2 of the International IndyCar League live from Phoenix Raceway, the new NASCARized Phoenix Raceway around the Desert Mile Oval. Joining me today in the commentating booth finally is Jack James. Hello Jack, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, Julian. It's a nice return to the commentary booth here for this race this afternoon at Phoenix. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We saw a pretty chaotic and anticlimactic end to the Pocono race last week, which Matthias Strauss came home with the win with. So he is going to start from the back as per league rules. So he was not allowed to set a qualifying time and will be given an EOL to start the race with. So 190 laps up ahead of us here today as we get set and ready to go for this pretty much a sprint race actually. So we'll dive into the starting grid here right away and load up the nice beautiful graphics. So yeah, we got 14 cars with us here today. A few less than last week, but certainly no less action. 100% guaranteed almost. So we'll bring up the starting grid right here. And there we go. We got David Strid on the pole position with Rodin Eeftink alongside him. Rodin again having a very good qualifying session as he did last week. Moving on to the next pages, we got Jason Lowe and Aman Lal on the second row. Aman making his first start in the series. Jason unfortunately getting collected in an accident last week. Then we got Dan Ensch and Will Stearns. Dan also involved in one of the yellows during that race. Then moving on to the next row, row number 4, we got Rick Lovison and Brad Stanley making up the top 8. Then completing the top 10 is Chris Rice and Matthias Strauss, who, as mentioned, will have to start from the back. He will grid up in 10th place, but will be dropping a few positions come the green flag. Then we got Richard Kelbaugh and Ryan Bowles. Row 7, Mike West and Manuel Gomez Esteban. And that is the 14 car field, sorry. So getting ready to go here for, as mentioned, 190 laps, 190 miles. And it's going to be an interesting race how this one plays out. Before we get going, I want to quickly go over the schedule, which you see right here. Homestead Miami is the next race up after today in the new year. Then we've got Autodromo Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway, and Spa-Francorchamps to complete January. In February, we have Daytona, the Oval, Nashville, Motegi, Monza, and then in March to conclude the season, we got Michigan, Atlanta, and Indianapolis. Then diving into a few quick stats here for the race as we get ready to take the pace lap. We have 12 races in the past around this track. That includes both the new and legacy Phoenix Ovals, 7 of which have had different winners. The most wins are 4 by Graham Bunyan, and including myself actually, I have won 1 race here in season 20, which went a little bit unpopular with a few members because apparently fuel saving was a thing. Lap records here. Phoenix Raceway, the new scan, David Strid in 2023, season 21, with a 18.6. And then the Legacy Oval, 19.262 by Jasper van Linden. And then 20 cautions, 2 cautions average for each race, which will basically set the standard here for the race. The caution prediction came out last week at Pocono. Let's see if it does today. And Jack, take it away. Don't think we can hear Jack at the moment, but the green flag is out. Very early start by David Strid from the pole. He leads lap number 1. Rodin Eeftink and Jason Lowe complete the top 3. And we are already catching lap traffic, which I do believe is Matthias Strauss. And Jack having some technical difficulties. I think Discord popping out or something, but... Ah, there we go, he's back. Jack, can you hear us? All right, we'll do it solo until Jack does come back. But yeah, as mentioned, David Strid taking the lead, Rodin Eeftink second, Jason Lowe third. And we are going to change that very quickly here because we do have a very close battle for that second position out on the racetrack. Eyes on those two battling for that second position. And that is Ryan Bowles, the first lap traffic in the field. As Jason Lowe goes to the bottom to pass Rodin Eeftink, he knows this is a long race. And so does Jason, it has to be said. And I think those two guys have had a reasonable amount of experience lately around Phoenix Raceway. Matthias Strauss already up to 7th position after starting close to the back of the field. There he is in the number 28 Team Watson Racing Honda. Let's go on board with him for a lap around Phoenix. Alright, Jack is saying everything is fixed. Can you hear me now, Jack? I still can't hear you. That's just wonderful. Everything's fine until the moment the broadcast starts, and then the connection just goes the wrong way. But Matthias Strauss currently chasing Will Stearns for the 6th position. The top 5 hasn't really changed from the drop of the green flag. As Richard Kelba in the 12th position, dropping back from the rest of the field. And the gap between the last two cars is pretty sizable. About 3 seconds from Kelba to Rice, and then Ryan Bowles is another 9 seconds back, but he started from the pits. So going to the front, David Stritt on board here. Had a shot to win last week, but came just short when the yellow came out. And at that time, it was really just David Stritt, Jason Lowe, and Strauss, the top 3. And Roden Evening was also involved in that lead battle, but mainly those 3 fought it out for the win. Matthias Strauss looking low on Will Stearns, and hello Jack, we finally got you.
You've got me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Right, apologies for that. It was a very untimely Wi-Fi cutout, unfortunately, but I'm using the good old trusty mobile hotspot, so hopefully that clears things up for the rest of the race. But yeah, no, everything seems to be going pretty smoothly so far. I mean, I've managed to watch a few laps while I've been trying to fix up my technical difficulties, but everything seems to be going relatively smoothly and in order. Not too much chaos at the start of this race.
Looking from the back of Rick Lovinson's car, and if you look closely to the rear wing, we were expecting a different aerodynamic configuration than they actually ended up using here. The single plane wings as Lovinson loses the spot to Manuel Gomez Esteban. But what I was going to say is the racing has been very spread out, which you could theoretically quote-unquote fix with the double plane wings, but apparently the lap speeds and the grip and everything is sufficient enough to go single plane with a little bit less downforce. It's the beauty of iRacing. You can basically pick and choose what kind of racing you want. And it has to be said, it is proven to be a bit of a challenge to pass.
Yeah, I would have thought with the single plane wing that we're seeing here is because of the lack of banking that we have around Phoenix. It puts a lot more load through those Firestone tires that the drivers are using, and you know what that might then lead to later in the race is obviously probably a bit more maintained and calm start to the race. But as we start getting deeper into stints, we might see a few more maybe possible mistakes, maybe a few more drivers, you know, trying some alternate strategy, trying for some undercuts, overcuts to try and maybe get those positions during the pits rather than outright pace out on circuit. Sorry.
Going to Aman Low here, looking to the inside of Dan Enge, who is sporting a new livery. I say new, it's got some updated colors to it to make him more recognizable in the field. And Dan Enge defending on the outside line here, defends that 4th spot. Aman Low not making too many moves so far, but he's clearly putting on the pressure on Dan Enge.
Yeah, as we see him go to the outside, he's going to try and search for that clear air. And as he switches back to the inside, he's going to square off the corner a lot better. He's going to get the exit. And we're going to go side by side into the final corner. And he grabs the inside line. And unfortunately, Ench can't do too much to combat that, as he then drops quite a way behind Aman Lal, actually, as we go on to lap number 21 for these guys into turn 1 and 2. And yeah, you can really see the effect that the turbulent wake is having on these cars. You know, he could not really even stay within 3 car lengths of Aman Lal as he made the overtake there.
Yeah, we just briefly saw the back end of that battle with Lowe and Avtink. Avtink having a look in turn 3 and 4. I'm gonna make that mistake like so many people have done in the past on other channels. They changed the start-finish line here between turns 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 on the IndyCar side of things. So basically, the front straight here on the NASCAR layout is what many IndyCar people consider the back straight, or at least part of the back straight, which does have a dog leg in it. But this part of the track is what we consider the front straight. So I will try my absolute best, but if I do mess up here a little bit here and there, I do apologize. But yeah, Avtink already dropping back a little bit. He was able to mount 1 challenge, and that was really it. So now he has to wait and see if he can grab another opportunity later down the line. As Strauss is closing in on Will Stearns again as well.
Yeah, he's coming up from the back of the field. It's really only taken him 24 laps to break the top 8, and he's looking really, really racy here to try and have a go at Stearns into what we now call turn 1 and turn 2. But he's just going to probably lack a little bit of traction there mid-corner, getting that turbulent wake over the front wing. And he's really... The thing that you really need to focus on in these Indy cars, and it's sort of completely unique to any other form of racing, as we go side by side into turn 1 and 2.
Oh, there's contact.
Oh, contact as Stearns goes into the wall. I believe that there was definitely contact there. There was no doubt about that, as we got a front row seat, quite literally, sat on Strauss's front wing. And I don't know that the front wing on Strauss didn't move at all, as we see 2 more spinners down to the inside trying to get out of the way in avoidance, and they hopefully don't hit anything, as I don't think they do. But yeah, going back to the damage from Strauss, I didn't see anything, as these 2 guys lost it just trying to get out of the way. That's the 24 and 25. Luckily they didn't collect each other, as that would have been even more insult to injury. But I have a feeling, Julian, that this could have been one of those unfortunate netcode problems.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this replay here first. So this one is almost guaranteed caused by the new hybrid system. And let me explain that real quick. The hybrid system basically forces you to use more of the front brakes because it puts more load on the rear brakes. And I think this was a classic case of hybrid rear wheels spooling up and basically spinning them out. So it looks a little bit silly, but I don't think this was fully a driver error on that regard. Anyway, looking to the replay of Matthias Strauss and Will Stearns here. We'll go on board here and look at full speed first. And oh, there's the tiniest amounts of netcode.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you know, it's really lucky for Strauss not to get any damage from that. But it's one of those netcode things where he'll argue in the steward's room, well, it was netcode, you know, we could have got through there side by side. But I think it's one of those cases where it was such a small amount of netcode that realistically it was going to happen either way. And, you know, to be fair to him, he's trying to come through from the back of the field. He's got the pace, definitely. He gets the run here as we look at the replay in slow motion from the chopper cam. And Stearns just starts coming down the racetrack, just doesn't really see him, probably doesn't get the call from his spotter to say there's a car down low, and unfortunately probably by the time that he does get that call and does start opening the steering wheel, the tap has already been made. And then from that point, once you break traction with this little amount of downforce, it's almost impossible to regain control without smashing the wall and in that ruining your race.
Yeah, very unlucky indeed. And it has to be said, fair play to iRacing. They did improve the netcode. The netcode amount was nowhere near as much as it used to be in the past. Because Strauss is from Scandinavia and Will Stearns is from the US. So it could have been much worse, but yeah, it was marginal. It does have to be admitted. But looks like we are going to go back to green here this time by. And David Stritt, among a few others, has decided to pit, including Jason Lowe. So those two guys at the back of the field now, which is going to hand the lead over to Aman Lal. And he is going to decide when to go, which will probably be right around in turns 3 and 4. There he goes.
It's a good restart by him, actually, getting a little bit of gap to F-Tink behind, who in turn also gets quite a sizable gap, actually, to Dan Ench, who seems to be sleeping a little bit off the start, and he's going to actually lose the place to Matthias Strauss into that first turn off this restart. Looking back from Strauss in the 28, we've got another guy with a run. That's Bowes in the 25 car, who then actually regains the place off Strauss as we cross the stripe for the first time to begin lap number 31. And this is going to start giving that gap to Lal and F-Tink, the two teammates up front. Most likely that was a coordinated restart from the two VOR drivers, as they're now going to hope that the gap is big enough for them to basically just drive off into the distance. And really, I mean, Bowes with an incredible restart there, getting the 2 places off Ench and Strauss to regain that 3rd position. And starting 12th, he's really made some moves in the early parts of this race.
Yeah, he just gained 2 spots on that restart. Great job by Ryan there. But yeah, the 2 VOR drivers running away with the lead at the moment, definitely working together, staying in line. Not that you can really get close enough to pass for the lead anyway with this Sarah configuration, but still. They've already gapped the rest of the field by about a second and 3/4, so that's a great job by them. They basically broke the draft window, and now they've basically forced everyone else to abandon any fuel-saving strategy they might have been on to try and re-catch those 2 guys at the front. So let's see how this is going to play out over the long run. We've already had the first of 2 cautions on average here at Phoenix. So let's see when and if we get another one. The prediction came perfectly through last week at Pocono, so let's see if it happens again. Of course, it's a statistic and doesn't mean it's bound to happen, but statistics are basically a statistic on previous events, and I think it's pretty likely we'll see another one with the close racing you see here. It's very difficult to overtake, like we covered. So if you get a run, you're going to have to run each other close, and then stuff like what happened between Stearns and Strauss just happens.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, you know, it's not bound to happen, but a statistic is a very good indicator. Now, the fact that we're going to see the rest of this chasing pack have to use more fuel and burn, well, as you say, abandon any sort of fuel saving to catch these front 2, this might play a little bit more into the hands of the likes of Strid and Lowe, who pitted under that first caution. They're going to have full tanks of fuel. I didn't quite catch whether they got 4 fresh Firestones or not, but regardless, they're going to have a bit more flexibility come the later stages in this race, and they've ultimately got the fuel advantage over everyone in the field. So this could be a early strategic advantage, you could call it, for these 2 guys who are finding themselves in 10th and 11th at the moment, but I'm sure come the end of this race they will not be staying in 10th and 11th.
Yeah, I would almost guarantee that they did take tires, because there is unlimited tires, as Jason Lowe goes low on David Strid and gets the spot, dives up into the top 10 positions, as Strid was looking for a way by Lovison. But yeah, those guys almost certainly took tires. But remember, the fuel cells in this league are very small, 55%, which normally a full fuel stint with single plane wings around Phoenix is around 65 laps. So if you do a little bit over half, that would basically be 36, 37 laps of fuel before you need to come down and get fuel. And as we say that about fuel, Ryan Bowles has definitely burned some, as he's caught the gap, got the gap down to Rodin Eefting to a little bit under a second. In fact, a little bit under 2/10 in fact. So let's go take a look at this battle here. There he is, running really close to Eefting, who is dropping back from Lal, so probably saving a bit of fuel behind Lal. And just realized...
Very interesting.
Just realized I didn't load the correct overlay. Haha. Let me correct that real quick.
No problem. So, yeah, it's interesting you say that. So he's now burnt the fuel to catch up to F-Tink. And, you know, they these two in the leading this race, so I'm talking about the two VOR cars here, they could potentially do a little of not anything illegal, not anything malicious, but you know, if you've got your teammate starting in front of you and you're 1-2 and you want your teammate or the team in general to win the race, of course you're going to hold up the guy behind a little bit. As Eftink finds the wall off the exit of turn 4, is the number 25 going to have a look to the inside? No, he's not. He's going to sit behind, run a little bit higher than Eftink in front of him to get some clear air over that front wing, as we now say welcome back to the overlay, as they are now extremely close coming off of turn 4 to cross the stripe to start lap number 44. Is he going to go to the outside? No, Eftink blocks off the outside, but he's going to find his way to the inside. Eftink just sort of leaves the door open, but he's going to get the exit and the overspeed to keep the position. This is some really close racing here at the midpoint of this first stint from our two leaders. The 25 of Buzz is looking a little bit more frustrated, not being able to make the progress that he wants to make to try and catch Aman Lau to ideally lead this one from a very early outing. Lap number 46 of 190. We ride on board the rear wing of the number 25 car down into turn 1 once again, looking at the gearbox of Rodan Eftink in the number 18, driving for the Velocity Online Racing team. Is he going to get a run this time? He's going to certainly have a look to the inside, but he thinks better of it. It seems like almost turn 1/2 is where most of these guys are going to be making these overtakes. If they can set up the move perfectly in 3 and 4, that corner that has arguably slightly more banking and where all the fans tend to sit around this Phoenix circuit, hence the other side of the circuit is nothing but a massive mountain you can see in the background. But Eftink finds the wall, I think, along with a couple more drivers, as Bowles now looks to the inside again. Thinks better of it, can't quite find the grip down on the inside, and I think that the life in these Firestone tyres, not only for that number 25 of Buzz, but for the whole top half of the pack in general, sort of wearing out a little bit, as we saw last lap, a couple of guys finding and brushing the wall on the exit of the final corner.
Yeah, let's go back around 5 laps here. Check this replay out of Jason Lowe and David Stritt making their way by Rick Lovison for the 9th and 10th position. That's Lowe going low to the inside and taking the spot, and then we'll shift our attention to David Stritt here. There he is, doing the same thing on the opposite end.
He's going to find his way past as well. Now, we saw this sort of defense of almost leaving the inside open and running the higher line working, as you know, Eftink pulled it off perfectly against Bowles a few laps ago, and we saw that live. But it almost looked like, you know, that time we just didn't quite find the traction that we needed, and then that sort of found him vulnerable to the other car of Strid in the 48 into the turn 3 and 4 grandstand section. A little bit more vulnerable to him, as we now ride on board with the 48, looking at the who's that in front?
Chris Rice.
Rise in front, who is going to chop down. No, he's not. So yeah, look at this. It's almost exactly a carbon copy of what I was just talking about, and Rise gets the exit and he's going to get the run and he's going to keep the position. So it's almost reverse psychology to how to defend around, especially turn 1 and 2 here at Phoenix tonight. You know, running the higher line almost gives you the better traction and the better run, especially as we get deeper into this stint, as I would assume, you know, you get a little bit less wash from the front tires and you'd be able to get the power down and get that grip in the rear tires a little bit earlier than your competitor, who will be trying to find their way through on the inside line of the corner.
So just quickly looking at the fastest lap of the race, that is in the hands of Jason Lowe with a 19.160. So Jason Lowe and David Stritt very much on the move, like we've been covering for the final few minutes. And they have to make a move on because they are about 6... I'm going to do it. They're about 6-7 seconds behind the leaders. So Stritt again looking to the inside, and like Jack has been covering, the outside line again prevailing with the momentum. And it is exactly reverse psychology, because you're doing the complete opposite of what you normally do. Normally you'll want to defend the inside, but with the single plane wings around Phoenix, the outside line is just so good because of the progressive banking too. The middle and the outside lanes just have more banking than the bottom line has. So it's very important to keep that line to yourself, and if you can, throw a little bit of dirty air on the front wing if you can too. But Stritt on the inside of 3 and 4 now, gonna get the run, and they're gonna be entering. I thought they were gonna be entering around about equally, but yeah, once again, Rice pulling his nose up ahead into that position into turns 1 and 2, and once again holding on to that position.
Yeah, it's like as he makes another sort of suicide dive to the inside. I think he's most likely going to make this one stick this time as they enter the dog.
Yep.
He'll have the inside, and Rise looks to the inside, but he's actually going to go down to pit road, it looks like.
Yeah, we got a yellow. So he's going to stay out. Yeah, he's going to stay out. Oh, that's a Manlal.
Oh. So that's the leader. What on earth happened there?
Yeah, so leader Aman Lal is completely destroyed on the inside. I'm assuming he caught a lapped car. And that might have been Manuel Gomez Esteban. So we'll take a look at this one. Oh, and it's already happened right about here. Let's see. If we can find a replay even.
That's very reminiscent to a real-life accident that happened a few seasons ago. I can't put a name and place together, but almost, you know, if he caught that accident slightly in a worse way, he could have been over the pit wall and into the pit lane. So this was a serious accident as we look at Aman Lau. Nothing out of the ordinary as of yet.
Oh, he spins entering the pits.
And then he's going to hold the brakes.
Oh, Jesus.
Nowhere to go, and so one of our drivers actually driving underneath a flipping Esteban. My word.
Yeah, very unlucky for Aman. I mean, it's very easy to just do that. Like, you're really trying to maximize the pit entry, and we'll grab an onboard here with him. Oh yeah, he has to be. Yeah, so he needs to be below the pit entry lines by the red branding on the wall. That's the league procedure for pit entry. So he is really trying his absolute hardest to make it down there. But in doing that, he puts way too much steering angle in the car. And then once he enters the apron, it just weight jacks the car all the way to the left. Look once again here in slow motion.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. So he crosses the white line, the yellow line, sorry, and yeah, grabs fourth. And as soon as that rear right tire crosses the apron, the car slips away from him. And at that point, he's a passenger. He does everything he can. He locks all four brakes, slides into the middle of the circuit almost, and does the right thing in my eyes to not move anywhere and sort of keep yourself as predictable as possible. But unfortunately, he still gets collected. So that would be race over for Aman Lau. But as a team perspective for Velocity Online Racing, they lose one car, but fortunately another car of theirs takes the lead of the race anyway. But I'm sure that will be some unfortunate and disappointed faces and feelings down at the VOR camp as, yeah, look at the onboard from Gomez. Absolutely nowhere to go. He tries to go low, sort of hesitates, opens the steering wheel, and by the time he's done with his hesitation, he's really not going anywhere else apart from into the side pod of Aman Lau. And that is a really, really serious flip accident.
Anyway, though, green flag is back out. Roden Hastings leads the way from Jason Lowe, David Strait, and Chris Rice all the way up into 4th place. Brad Stanley completes the top 5. And we only have, I think, about a handful of cars still running. Let's check how many I'm actually talking about. Okay, it's about 2 hands of cars.
So, yeah, so we have what looks to be the top 9 showing up on the lead lap, and the likes of the 24 of Kelblo, Gomez, Lau, and Stearns are either 2 laps down or out. So I believe that we do only have a top 9 running as we ride on board with Bowles, who I believe did get past. No, he didn't actually. So he may have come into the pits, I believe, because he was up in the top 3, and now he's sort of at the rear of the field in 8th position.
Yeah, a handful of drivers did come into the pits. Let's see. Normally you could see who pitted on the timing stand, but now you can't anymore. That's interesting. Well, we'll do it the old-fashioned way then. So those who pitted twice on the last pit lap is everybody from 4th place on back basically pitted, and the top 3 stayed out, I do believe. Under the yellow, that is.
Okay, so that's interesting that Bowers lost that many positions. Maybe he missed his box, or maybe he wanted a slightly longer stop for whatever reason. But he was really looking quite racy up in the top 3, and now finds himself not on the back foot, but with a bit of work to do if he wants to keep up his rate of progress that he showed so early in the race. As we now look at the 48 of David Strid in the Chevrolet 48, seeing if he can make some progress. We saw some last minute moves being made from Strid just before the caution to get past the number 021 of Chris Rise, who is around about a second or so behind him. So on the less effective end of the slipstream, and that could be that could be sort of tactical from him to save some tire life, but on a trade-off, you could call it, he'll be having to use a little bit more fuel to sort of keep that gap consistent. And it's going to be really interesting to see if Strid can actually make a pass on low in front to sort of break into the top 2 here, because he struggled so much getting past Chris Rise before that caution. And it was, I was going to say before the caution actually came out that if you find yourself on that inside line and you sort of want to make a last minute dive to the inside and try and do almost sort of a NASCAR-esque slide job to get the move done, it's incredibly difficult to get the traction and get the speed, carry the speed, and keep that car off of the guy that's going to be on the upper side of the racetrack, ideally to your right hand side, because you'll be pinned to that lower part of the circuit, and you don't want to be plowing people into the wall. You don't want to be sort of doing wheelies and causing massive cautions, and that would be our 3rd of the day if that were to happen. So you almost have to find yourself with no option but to sort of lift out of the throttle and just sort of give up and wait for a better opportunity.
Looking a little bit further back, though, is Matthias Strauss, currently running 6th. He was the cause of the first yellow with Will Stearns. I don't see any apparent damage on the car, but he does seem to be running a little bit off the pace. So maybe a little bit of suspension damage, maybe a little bit of floor damage on the front right part of the floor, just behind the rear tires. That could also be a possibility. It's difficult to get a good angle of that with the controls that we do have available to us here in iRacing. So yeah, on the fly, getting a good angle of that is a bit difficult. Maybe here, I can't really see it. But
it's been a bit of an unfortunate race for Matthias so far. I mean, he showed incredible early pace, and obviously winner of the last race out of Pocono by well, I mean, it was a pretty good showing from him to win that race, and it's almost a bit of a disappointing one so far for him. 77 laps into this race, still not being able to break the top 5. He's made some progress, no doubt about it, from the back of the field with that end of line penalty that every race winner will get moving into their next event. But I'm sure he'll be wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the rule. It's certainly something I've never seen before, but it does create an exciting championship fight, because if you have one guy who is winning every race, and I'm basically 99% positive this was the exact thought behind it. If you have the same guy running away with every single race, like Graham Bunyan has done in the past, including some wins I took in the past, it's very, very interesting to shake up the running order that way, because you're also giving other drivers a chance, and also artificially it does have to be admitted too, but nonetheless it spices up the action throughout the field, because you have many guys racing the guy to beat, and it's basically giving them an opportunity to prove themselves as well. Like, they can learn from whoever has won the last race to see what lines they take, how they follow in dirty air, and how they set up moves and all that stuff. So even though it's unusual, I do kind of like the rule. It's certainly not something you would expect in an esports competition, but many of these people have raced in this league for many, many seasons. I think I was looking at these stats earlier. Some people are approaching 250 starts in this league. So, yeah, incredible. These guys know each other. They've been around the block. So to have a rule like that to make the races more exciting and enjoyable for everyone, I think is a good thing. And I don't think this league is trying to be an esports competition, and I don't think they should be, because it's a great league to run in, just to have fun, and I'm pretty sure that's basically the point of the whole series. So whatever they're doing with the rules, I think is a very interesting and fun way about it, and I do hope this rule stays around for seasons to come, because it does add to the excitement, like I've said.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It almost reminds me a little bit of a series that we have in the UK called the British Touring Cars. You know, there's a lot of sort of weight penalties, or, you know, you get less hybrid boost, or you get like an end of, you know, like reverse grid, or sort of a back of the grid kind of thing. And it sort of spices up the championship fight a little bit more. I mean, if you really are taking this seriously, it will obviously, you know, not be ideal. If you win a race, you've got a whole lot of work to do to beat your competitors in the next race. But I really think that this, you know, creates a really big entertainment factor for not only the drivers, but for the people watching, like us in the commentary booth as well. Because, you know, if you're running away with every race, albeit it's going to be an amazing thing and you're going to win a championship by a fair few points, but you're not really improving anything else. You know, you're almost sort of running a time lap or a hot lap stint for however many laps that the race would be. Whereas if you then start from the back of the race, it really helps your racecraft, and it really helps how you're going to, you know, think about strategy, how you're going to jump a few cars here, you know, whether you're going to use a bit more fuel or a bit more tire life in this stint so that you can sort of get a bit of clear air later on. Things like that, I think, are greatly helped by this rule that we're talking about here. And I think that I agree with you, Julian. I think it's an amazing addition, and it creates for some really, really good and unpredictable racing.
So I was just looking at the gaps here between the leaders. The top two have really pulled away from the rest of the field. There are the gaps. Roden has gapped David Strait by 1.5 seconds, and then there's another 3 seconds all the way to Jason Lowe. And then another 2 seconds to Chris Rice, and then the closest battle on track for position in the top 5 is between Brad Stanley and Matthias Strauss for that 5th position. So let's go set our eyes on this battle here. Matthias Strauss has caught the gap. We were talking about him earlier, maybe having a little bit of damage. Doesn't seem to be the case, at least at the moment. So maybe he was just saving fuel, preserving the tires a little bit. And we'll see if he can get into the top 5 again. Of course, that would be good for his championship. I'm not sure if he will be running full-time, but usually when Matthias does run leagues, that is his intention. So we'll just assume he will be, as he closes the gap to Stanley, who does have Chris Rice just in front as well. So this is about to turn into a three-way fight for P4, 5 and 6.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty difficult situation for Strauss, as obviously you're going to have Rise at the front of this trio running whatever line he chooses, as he will have the clean air. Then you've got Stanley in the 277 behind. He will want a bit of that clean air as well. So if you're Strauss, you've got almost twice the width of IndyCar running in the next 50 meters of racetrack. So he's going to have to really think about this one and think really strategically about where he needs to find the grip, how he's going to find it. And he looked like he found quite a lot coming off of turn 4. They're really closing up on Stanley in front of him. He's crawling all over that rear wing of the number 277 as we have F-Tink into pit lane, I believe.
Yes, and so is Jason Lowe. So we got the leaders pitting, the top 2 in the race pitting. David Strait was running 3rd. He stays out for yet another lap. And never mind, he does also pit right about now. Aman Lal, who was the cause of the last yellow, is in the pits as well. And here comes basically most of the field, except for Dan Inch, who is going to go a little bit longer. He is going to get a bonus point for leading a lap. Never mind, I'm backtracking that, because Ryan Bowles has also stayed out, and he is pitting this time. Can Dan go another tour? Yes, he can. So Dan Inch is going to go and lead that lap. After all, there he is in the ALZ.org Chevy. For those of you watching who have parents or other family members or loved ones with the Alzheimer's disease, you guys will love this one. Dan Inch is very, very involved in spreading awareness for the Alzheimer's Association and any other kind of dementia as well, for that matter. So if you're watching and you don't know much about it, please do go to alz.org to find out more. And if you are able to donate towards the research, please do so as well. Any amount helps towards that research, and hopefully one day we can find a way to detect and prevent Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's a really good cause that he's representing, and as long as I've been around. Hang on a minute, who's that without a front nose cone into turn 4, or was that my eyes deceiving me?
Oh, it's Brad Stanley.
I wonder what's happened there. Yeah, that's supposed to have a front wing on it, Sunshine, as he loses it. Oh, lights up the rears and finds the pit wall probably a little bit sooner than he would have liked, and that looks like a very damaged IndyCar for him. I'm surprised that wasn't actually a caution, probably because he managed to get the thing rolling and driving away pretty quickly. As we now look at Eftink, who cycles himself back to the lead of the race with the 3-second gap, courtesy of everyone else making their pit stops. 34 laps today for the man driving that number 18 IndyCar. Seems to be almost quite a relaxed drive for him. I mean, due to a series of unfortunate events, his teammate got taken out of this one, and he didn't really have to do too much work to get that lead, and has kept it ever since, and pretty much drove away from it with that 3-second gap to Strid behind him in the 48. He looks in a very comfortable and dominant position at the moment, Julian, but we've still got the best part of 90 laps left to run, so I don't want to speak too soon. The commentator's curse can very much still be a factor, but it's looking pretty solid for him at the moment.
Yeah, he's on track to lead the most laps as well. He's already led more than David Strid has done today, so he is on the right track. Jason Lowe got back up into that third spot. It's very interesting, though, to note that both Rodin gaining 3 seconds on Strid. Strid has also gained 3 seconds during the pit cycle on Jason Lowe. And then there's another 3-second gap to Chris Rice. There he is in the number 021. Still leading the group of cars of Matthias Strauss and Ryan Bowles. And I do believe Matthias Strauss has got by Ryan Bowles. So let's see if we can find that pass. There it is. Should be right about here. Maybe it was during the pit cycle.
I reckon there's probably a good chance it was during the pit cycle. He was very, very close to the rear wing of the number 25. And, I was questioning, why isn't he sort of making a move on? He wants to get to the front of the field. There was a very good chance that he could have been saving a bit of fuel, maybe trying to get that little bit of track position via the pit stop, which I mentioned very early on in this race. That's going to be an incredibly important factor that we still need to think about, as he now finds himself closing quite rapidly actually on Chris Rice. And it almost seems like, that damage that we thought he might have had, that maybe slight bit of wheel damage that hindered his pace in the last stint, could have been just him saving a bit of fuel, and now he wants to sort of put the afterburners on again, so to speak, and not burn all of his fuel, but definitely sort of push the pedal a little bit closer towards the metal backplate and get a move on.
Let's see how close he's able to run here. It's almost guaranteed that Chris Rice is trying to preserve a little bit of fuel, because I do think he pitted a lap or two earlier than Strauss did, so making a bit more fuel for him is going to be important to make it to the end on either 1 or 2 more stops. I think it will be one stint.
As we ride on board again with Strauss, there's just not really anywhere he can go. I mean, he can go to the bottom of the racetrack, but when he comes up to sort of open up the exit of the corner, he'll get a massive wash of lack of aerodynamics. That's just how physics work, unfortunately for him, as he now finds the boost button and goes down the inside into turn number 1, but he's going to get pinned to the inside, and Rise will have the better run on the exit. There we go. That's the thing that we've seen a lot of so far this evening. And Chris Rise keeps the place with what I think was a very calm and collected, thought-out head.
Yeah, it's almost going to be frustrating Matthias Strauss here, because he knows that he is quicker at the moment than Chris Rice. There's just no way by, because Chris Rice is defending the line with the momentum, and that's really all you need with the little amount of downforce all these guys have on the car. So here we go for another take for Matthias Strauss, as he does blink out briefly, but comes back.
Yeah, it's sort of almost, the mentality I'd imagine of Chris Rise at the moment is, okay, you want to go to that inside? Fine. I'll just put my car here and have a good shot getting past me with that attempt, Sunshine, as they now find themselves side by side. Strauss will have the inside line for the dogleg and actually almost clears Rise in turns 1 and 2, but Rise will keep his nose in on the outside, finds the wall, grazes the wall actually, and just about has that overlap, but I believe Strauss will get told he's clear, gives the space, a lot of respect there from Matthias, that's always nice to see, and they find themselves again side by side into turns 1 and 2, and what that is actually now doing is bringing, if you can see that the 2 shades of blue behind that number 25 of Bowles, he will be absolutely loving this as they continue to go side by side to cross the stripe onto lap number 113. Rise eventually says, you know what, we're losing too much time here. I am just going to sit behind you and do my fuel saving with one car in front of me rather than behind me.
Yeah, luckily for Chris as well, Matthias is very fast. He knows how to run this race to the end. So I'm pretty sure Matthias has already saved enough fuel to go the distance, or at least made sure he pitted at the last time to make it to the end without having to make an extra stop. So for Chris now, the critical thing is if he can keep up with Matthias while saving fuel, because he's going to gain race time compared to his own, well, I wouldn't say capabilities, because Chris is a pretty capable driver, but Matthias is able to extract a little bit more speed naturally because he has more fuel to burn. So let's see if Chris can do this, and maybe he will find himself on the podium once the top 3 pit as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it always helps to have a car in front of you punching a hole, because you then end up naturally using less fuel because you're not the one sort of moving that brick wall of air out of the way. So hopefully for him, he can stay with Matthias as we look at Dan Ench going very high into turn 1, and I believe that.
Yeah, it's a lap car. The leader is passing Dan Ench, is what I mean. Sorry, yeah.
Yes, no, 100%. That was, just wanted to double check that in case we were missing some sort of technical difficulty for him. But that was a lap incident as we now look at what seems to be the closest battle on circuit at the moment, which is so. Need to find my bearings again. That is the top.
That's Lovison chasing down Dan Ench. We got Jason Lowe coming up behind 2 lap cars though, which is why I did put the cameras on here. Jason Lowe, 5 seconds behind David Stritt, and he's only losing more time behind these 2 lap cars, and they're not obligated to move out of the way. So for Jason, it's very critical to make this move as soon as he can, because if you stay behind too long, you're going to lose so much time. At the end of the race, you might even find yourself trapped a lap down once the leader comes up to you. So yeah, for Jason, it's going to be critical to get by as soon as possible. But maybe he might also use these 2 lap cars to save fuel. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword for him. He does on one hand kind of want to pass, but on the other maybe wants to sit behind. So it's going to be a matter for him to balance those 2 out. And really all he needs to do is stay on the lead lap, because at the moment there's no way to pass for position or be passed. So if he stays on the lead lap, it's sufficient, because if a yellow comes out, a late race yellow, that will open a door for him to maybe go for the win, like we saw him fight for last week at Pocono. Of course, he came up short because of an incident he was involved in. Not really through any fault of his own, but involved nonetheless. So I think Jason is going to be happy with the 3rd place, but if there is a late yellow, which he is not involved in this time, I'm sure he's going to take every opportunity he gets to go for that win later on. But of course, that's all if. We need to see the yellow first before any of that is even relevant.
Yeah, so looking at the gap between the 2 leaders now, as we see Eftink and Strid just flash up on our screens there, it was around about 3 seconds, and now it's sort of come down a little bit to the best part of, well, a second now, and a little bit less, as Eftink possibly is in the pit lane, but surely not.
Yeah, he is in the pit lane. There he is.
So potentially. Yeah, so the leader actually coming down pit road. So this will most likely be, what is his stint here? It's probably about... he might be able to make this to the end, but I would assume that there would be a little bit more fuel needed, no?
Yeah, they have half a fuel tank. A full fuel tank would have made the distance right about from here, with a little bit of save. But no, he's going to have to pit again. So 2 stops for him. I think the people that did pit under the yellow are going to want to maybe do another 20 laps if possible. It might be a tall task for them, though, to make that distance, but I'm sure they're going to try. In the meantime, though, I did see Chris Rice losing a position to Ryan Bowles. So I'm just looking for that replay really quickly if I can find it.
Looking at him on screen now, Rodan Efting, there's no one around him. Even in the camera shot, doesn't even picks up one car in front of him. Almost looks like he's running in a completely different server, let alone in the same races as everyone else. He's got so much clean air around him. As this is the overtake, I believe, Julian.
Yeah, lap 120, 5 laps ago. Ryan Bowles gets by Chris Rice for position. And we'll have to wait and see which position that is going to shake out to be after the stops. But he gains one nonetheless. Dan Ench is in the pits. So he once again stays out a few more laps to get some laps led. And Roden Efting here takes the lead back. So everyone has now pitted and none of them are able to make the distance. So they're going to have to pit at least one more time, excuse me. They pitted the second time just a few laps ago. So from here on out, one more stop to go for everybody. And now it's a matter of how you time this. Do you split the strategy in half? Do you go a little bit longer on this stint and a little bit shorter to go the distance? Or do you do the opposite to go for a short stint here and then pit early and do the undercut? It's all up in the air. I do personally think the overcut is going to be more effective. So stretching this stint to go longer at the end is going to be more beneficial. But maybe we'll get proven wrong. We're just commentators after all in this day. So maybe they will. We'll find out though.
Yeah. I mean, as everyone sort of leaves the pit lane, it's almost the worst possible situation for Efting, because as you mentioned just now, these guys in front of him don't have to get out of the way. This isn't for position. That green and white car is the leader and everyone else is getting lapped. And obviously, they're still fighting for position. This 25 with Rise in front of him in the 21 are fighting for position. So they're going to be a lot less likely to want to lift for Rodan Efting as he comes behind them. But potentially this could be, a silver lining for Efting as well. He could be using these guys to save some fuel, but as soon as they start battling, he's going to be a bit like, come on guys, I've got a race to win here. I don't really want to be caught by that anyone behind me, let alone sort of caught up in your battle, and I can't really get past, So this pit stop cycle could have been maybe a little bit better played out for Efting. I mean, it's not really his fault that he's just come out the pits and everyone has come out right in front of him, as the move now is made by the 25 and it looks like he can make it stick. They're still side by side, and the same thing that we've seen all evening on repeat. Rise seems to almost let him by, but as a tiny bit of overlap, Efting now wants to get involved. He is looking at the middle, goes to the high side, and he's going to go super high on the very highest line into turn 1 and 2 to get that clean air. And I'm sure that the frustration will be rapidly building with Efting, because while this is happening, the longer this goes on, he is burning tires, he is losing time to Strid behind him as he gets past the number 25. So in his head, that's 1 down, 1 to go. He goes high again.
Oh!
A little bit of touching there from the 25. He needs to be careful here, because that is the leader. That is not for position. You don't need to be racing him that hard, my friend. And he sort of backs off out of it as we cross the line once again to start lap number 135. Rise to the inside, Efting to the outside, not for position, and this is getting a little bit too close for my liking, Julian. The 25 gets right up behind Mr. Efting and gets repassed by Rise, loses the position to Bowes in the 25, and that was a heart and mouth moment as we had Bowes sort of rapidly coming up the racetrack courtesy of the dirty air from Chris Rise towards the side pod of Rodan Efting, and that could have ended a million ways in the bad books. But unfortunately, that was some great racing. Well, not unfortunately, fortunately rather, that was some great racing, and Chris Rise seems to have dropped extremely far off the back of these two at the moment, and Bowes in the 25 seems to be keeping with Efting. who probably would like something a little bit less than that at the moment.
Yeah, great job by all drivers. Remember how we were talking about Bolt getting by just before the pit cycle, sorry. Yeah, very close call there with the left car. That might have been Lovison getting a lap down. But yeah, Bolt got by Chris Rice there before the pit cycle. And then during the pit cycle, Chris Rice came out ahead. So Bolt had to make the move again, like we just covered. And then all of that, Roden and everything had to also find a way by. But they all got through. They got their positions back. Roden is on his way to, well, I don't want to say too early yet, but to a very well-deserved win if he does pull it off. And yeah, there was definitely a slow car in the wall. Difficult to tell who it was. Yeah, I do think it was Lovison there, but
yeah, I saw a car washing sort of high into the last couple of corners as we look on to more lap traffic, and I don't know whether that was a sort of driver issue or whether that was, you know, sort of getting on those marbles on the outside. But I believe, is this a replay or is this live?
Yeah, this is a replay. Apparently, Aman Low passed Brad Stanley, but I think Brad Stanley was in the pits at that time. Yeah, he was. So timing screens again throwing me for a loop, but we'll go back to live pictures here. There we go.
Okay, so courtesy of the Chris Rise and Bowles squabble, Eftink has lost the best part of 1 and a bit seconds to Strid behind him in the 48. But for Eftink's benefit, Strid is going to have to do exactly the same thing, albeit with the cars slightly more spread out. You can see there that white car in third in the queue, that's not really for position for the other guys, but the two shades of blue, the light blue and the dark blue, that is fighting with the car that is just in the back of your screen there. So we've now got Strid, who's trying to go around the outside of Rise, who is in 6th place. Strid is in 2nd, so again, this is not for position. Rise almost goes defensive into the final corner, and Strid is going to get the switchback. No, he doesn't. A little bit of confusion there, but I believe he should get this one done pretty quickly, as he's going to go all the way around the outside, finds the grip, finds the traction, does the sort of suicide wall ride, and gets the place. That is job done for him. Not anything too stressful.
45 laps to go for Roden Eftink. He has led, let's see how many laps he did, 80 laps. So well on his way to lead the most laps. In fact, he's already got it. So yeah, pretty good day so far for Roden. I don't think anybody can really beat him other than David Strid, which is going to be a tall task anyway. So yeah, great drive so far for Roden. David Strid nonetheless as well, also doing a very fine job in 2nd position. Jason Lowe once again in 3rd spot. After having to make a few moves early on in the race, he's got back to where he started from. So great job so far by Jason. 0 laps led today, but still in a good position, especially after last week's misfortune. Then we've got Matthias Strauss all the way up into P4, who hasn't led any laps as well today either, but I think he'll be pretty happy considering he had an incident earlier on, had to start from the rear of the field, and is now running where he is. So great job by him so far today. Ryan Bowles up in the top 5 too. Great job by him making those moves. He did start from the P12 position, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he did. So 7 positions gained for him. It's a very fine drive. Partially aided by a few incidents, but he still has to stay alive and make those moves happen. So we'll give him the credit.
Yeah, he's been one of the big entertainers of this race so far for us. He's been lighting up the, not so much the timing sheets, but the positions gained board, if that's such a thing. He's been lighting that one up, providing us with lots of entertainment at Phoenix. And yeah, for Matthias, obviously it's not going to be the race that he would have hoped for. It's not going to be the race that he would have wanted. But as he started from the back of this field, you know, he's leading the standings at the moment. He's definitely going to be still right up there, considering he's in 4th. But you know, he's going to be wanting a little bit more. He would have wanted to potentially break the podium. He's the best part of 2.5-3 seconds off the podium at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that to see if he sort of ends up giving Lowe any trouble towards the closing stages of this race. But at the moment, everything looks pretty chilled out and pretty I'm not going to say boring or uninteresting, but everyone's sort of running their own race. I think we're sort of counting the laps now until the final pit stop, where we will then see who has done the best strategy and who really needs to improve upon it for next time. But at the moment, I think Eftink is definitely running an extremely strong race. He's, as we covered, led the most races, not the most races, sorry, excuse me, the most laps today, with that being 80 plus. As we've got 37 now to go. And, you know, he's the best part of 4 seconds in front of Strid. And I believe Eftink is into the pits once again, as he is now dropping down the timing screens as yes. So Eftink into the pits. This will be his final stop of the day, and it's like he's potentially gone with the shorter first one, longer second stint.
Yeah,
close out this race.
I'm very surprised to see this, because he is part of my team, and usually I do the opposite to what he is doing, and I win races. So I would have expected him to follow my strategy, but apparently he is not listening. Hopefully for him it pays off, though. I do think he's got the wiggle room to do whatever he wants. I think he's got the speed in the car, and I don't think this race is showing any signs of going yellow anytime soon. So yeah, he's probably just going to chase the fastest lap here, as David Strait does also peel into the pit. So he goes 3 laps longer than Eftink did. And Strauss also in the pits now this time by, so that's going to hand the lead over to Ryan Bowles in that Monster Energy number 25. And I haven't had any Monster for the past week, and I really do need some. So I don't know if he's sponsored by Monster or not, but I would appreciate some.
maybe for his first win, that can be a little thank you present.
For him or for me? For covering the race?
Covering the race, of course. But yeah, as we now start to see the pit cycle come through once again, we're looking at Dan Ench and Aman Lau, who have not had the most incredible race for Aman Lau. I'm surprised he's still running around the circuit after that huge accident with Gomez early, sort of around lap 40 in this one.
So Dan Ench, once again, the longest one to stay out. He's going to pit with 33 laps to go. So he is going to be right on the window to make it to the end without having to save any fuel. So I think Dan is going to be an exciting car to watch in the closing stages. Roden Eftink, though, does get a huge amount of overlap on David Strait. He gains more than 2 seconds over the number 48. So great job by Roden during the pit cycle. And he is well and truly pushing for that Raceway. And look at him go. We'll see what the lap times are. And it's a 19.250, so 9/1000 slower than Strait on the last time by. Oh, Roden! Oh, what a save!
Oh my word! Way to give the commentary booth a bit of a heartache. My word, Roden Eftink. That seems, we saw another car do that earlier in the race, and it's almost like it's a warm up sort of thing, or is it a just the way that the wind has now flipped around this Phoenix circuit? And my word, that would be his heart rate would definitely have gone up a few hundred beats per minute, I'm sure, as he was almost staring at a certain impact with the inside pit wall. My word, Roden Eftink, what a save.
And it only cost him 4 seconds too, so it's not like it's the end of the world. He didn't really lose that much time. So let's see if we can find a replay of this, because I'm very curious to see how this happened as well. This might be a lap too early, but we'll find it out eventually.
He's down at the apron, absolutely fine. So it's going to be next time around. We'll ride on board.
One of the next 3 times around.
Right. So across the stripe, no problems. Everything looks absolutely fine. And as he turns in to turn 1 and 2.
Okay, it's the next lap. We'll fast forward here a little bit. There we go. We found it eventually.
We got there in the end. So, yeah, as he turns in, everything's absolutely fine.
The apron.
He grabs the apron.
Apron bad.
Yeah, so what he's done is he's dipped that tyre just onto or below the yellow line, and what that does is, as Julian mentioned earlier, with the two guys that spun under caution, it just unloads the car and puts the load and the weight of the car in a very funky position, and just completely unsettles the back end of the car, gives it a weird amount of grip at the front and almost nothing at the rear, and that was what made him lose that rear end of the car, and an incredible save to bring the front of the car back around, bring the nose back around and pointing away from the wall, and like you noted, only lose 4 seconds of his 5-second lead. So he's lost a tenth since we've been watching that replay, but I'm sure that he'll probably be driving with a little bit more of caution rather than outright pace, as he gets very close to the apron again there that time around. It almost looked like he was about to do exactly the same thing, but you know, with it only being the best part of 1 second between him and second place, I think that he might need to start pushing or keep pushing on, regardless of what his maturity is telling him. I'll call it.
So we're closing in on the final stages. It's uncertain if the top 3 can make it. Dan Hench is the first guy that I'm 100% confident can make it. So we'll keep an eye out on the fuel levels, though I do think that Roden has made the right decision here and he can make it to the end. But nonetheless, we have to keep an eye on it. Maybe we get way ahead of ourselves if we do say those things. So we'll find out with about 5 laps to go if people can make it or not. But coming across the line, we have 20 laps to go this time by. And it ticks over right about there. There you go. So, yeah, great save by Rodin to hold on to the lead. David straight second. Jason Lowe still third. Then the top 5 is going to be a little bit more closely contested between Strauss and Bowles. Those two guys running about a second apart. And then we have the next 2 cars, Chris Rice and Dan Hench running a lap down. The next 2 cars again, Aman Lal and Rick Loveson running 2 laps down. And then the last car still in the race, Brad Stanley running 5 laps down. And then we got Richard Kelbo, Manuel Gomez, and Will Stearns all out of the race, either through incidents or mistakes, and their days have ended prematurely for sure. So let's go back to the leaders. As Roden has to pit. He has to pit. So Roden Aefting hands over to the lead to David Stritt. And now can he make it to the end of the race? Did he save enough fuel?
So I wonder what's pushed Efting to pit. Is it did he get the fuel numbers wrong on the first sort of on his stop? I mean, surely it's not, you know, surely you haven't fueled the car 17 laps short.
I wouldn't say it would be 17. Maybe he did take out of fuel and they put too little in the car. So that's why he was going to be short anyway. So maybe he's just bit the bullet early and just went for the pits. But even then, I would stay out as long as you can, just in case of a yellow. So, interesting strategy call by him.
Oh no! I mean, it was looking so good for him. You know, we said a couple of times that the win was definitely a possibility, and you know, sooner or later, some sort of commentary curse, I'm sure of it, has slapped Roden Eftink around the back of the head, and with 17 laps to go, he finds himself forced into the pit lane. But like you said, will the rest of the top 3 have to follow suit?
So going a few laps back, this is once again during the pit cycle. Why does it keep popping up as overtakes? Never mind. Matthias Strauss gets by Ryan Bowles during the pit cycle.
Okay, so these guys, this is by far the closest battle I believe that we have on circuit at the moment. Strauss is a very quick driver, so I believe that he might have this one sorted, but you never know. Ryan Bowles has been a entertainer and a half so far this race, doing lots of fantastic maneuvers, overtakes, and keeping us entertained up at the commentary booth with some good close racing. And Matthias Strauss looks to be struggling a little bit actually off of what was that, turn 3 there, as we headed, sorry, turn 2 as we head into turn 3 now. And we'll get the overlays up for you for Ryan Bowles in the 25 Chevy.
Yeah, Ryan is saving fuel. You can definitely tell by the tone of the engine. So I think more people have got it too close with the pit cycles on the last time. So looking at the laps the stint length so far. David straight 22 laps, 24 laps for Jason Lowe. So I think there are going to be a few more people in trouble as Matthias Strauss blinks out. Thought he pitted for a second as I looked away from the screen. But no, stays out. So yeah, I think more people are going to be close on the at the end of this thing. Can't imagine Rodin really messed up the numbers that badly. But then again, it is still a possibility. So yeah, assuming fuel stints have been around 30, 31 laps, I think the top 3 are going to be 2 or 3 laps short. So I think if they are short for real, they're going to want to stay out as long as they can in case of a yellow, in which case you are going to be running at a slower speed, so you can either stay out, or if there's a yellow right about now in 5 seconds, because maybe Ryan Bowles and Matthias Strauss collide, I'm just saying something like that could happen. Not foreshadowing anything, but it's a possibility too. So it's about when the yellow falls, if it falls, and that's going to be what determines if they pit now or if they maybe don't pit with the yellow at the end of the thing. So we'll see what happens as we have 7 laps to go now.
It looks like Strauss is really sort of putting on the fuel saving cap, and it could be just an extreme effect of the slipstream, and me underestimating how powerful it is here, but it almost looks like Strauss could be running not in the top engine mode, maybe turning it down a 1 notch or 2 to one of the more conservative engine modes to sort of help him get to the end. But Ryan is completely all over him. Whether he sort of needs Matthias to sort of get his foot down and sort of pick up the pace a bit so he himself can make it to the end. As we look to the car behind him, who is Chris Rise, who is a lap down, but that's not that far because the leader is just behind the pair that we have on screen now, which is now the number 48 of Strid, as we got a bit of helmet cam action from Matthias Strauss, and I'll let you enjoy a couple of corners of this IndyCar on board with Matthias Strauss.
Yeah, big save for Matthias there. But he is trying to make it to the end. It's going to be close. 4 laps to go. 3 laps this time by for David Strid just behind. 4 laps to go still for Strauss and Bowles until they get lapped, if they do. So let's see if they can make it to the end. Now we're coming up into crunch time here. We are approaching the full fuel stint that we've seen in the race so far. So have these guys been saving fuel or not? Rodin Evestink is back up into P6. Passing Dan Ench a few moments ago. 2 laps to go now for David Strid. I think he's going to make it. Coming around to 3 and 4 for the white flag here.
I think this is, I reckon he'll be okay. I mean, he's dropped very far off the back of these two, but I think with the amount of, wake that they'll be creating for him to sort of lift and keep the speed up, I reckon it will be extremely close, but I reckon he'll be okay as this is the white flag lap. As he comes down the back straight into 3 and 4, it will be all green and buzzing for Strid, who takes the checkered flag and gets the win here at Phoenix Speedway. And almost what probably he would have thought as being a little bit of an unexpected win, considering the lead that Rodin Evestink had at this sort of halfway point, and even after the last pit stop. But keeping his head cool, playing it safer with the strategy, working it through properly, has played dividends for his race today as he picks up the win. And Rodin Evestink, unfortunately, with a slight fuel miscalculation, finds himself down in 6th place and a lap off the lead by the end of it there. So, well, congrats to Strid in the number 48, to Lowe in the 004, who sort of had a bit of a quiet race from in terms of an action point of view. He didn't make too many appearances on our screens, but sometimes that's what you need. Low action, low stress, low event. Just run your race, run your laps, and you will get the job done. And Matthias Strauss, actually, I noted there, into the top 3, which would be more than welcome for him, considering he started plumb dead last at the start of the race. As we now look at the 48, is he going to do some donuts for us in the commentary booth?
I don't think he has the fuel to do it. So he's just posing for the picture and then he's going to call it a day. So yeah, David Strid from the pole wins. It wasn't quite as straightforward as it looks by this graphic, but congratulations to David on a well-deserved win. He got the strategy right and the fuel numbers right, so it's fair play. Great job to David. for getting the win. And we'll look over on the final results here for the race as David does do his victory donut. So we'll leave him for his moment in the sun for just a few seconds until we do. But yeah, that race was very interesting indeed. I didn't think the single plane wings would put up that much action, to be honest. We've seen the single plane wings in action for quite a while, and they've proven to be quite boring. So this race was a nice change of heart, I suppose. So anyways, here are the race results for round 2 at Phoenix. As covered, David Stritt wins on the fuel number. Jason Lowe, second place. Matthias Strauss from the back to the 3rd position. That's good for his championship hopes. Ryan Bowles and Chris Rice complete the top 5. Then Roden Eveting led the most laps, finishes 6th. Dan Enge, Rick Lovinson, Aman Lal, and Brad Stanley complete the top 10. And if you just bear with me 1 second, I put the graphic on my own screen over the control button. So that's a little bit suboptimal. Then Richard Kelbo, Manuel Gomez, Esteban, Will Stearns, and Mike West complete the running order of the race. And I think an honorary 15th place should go to Mauro Ramirez for not making the race, unfortunately, due to a family emergency. Hope all is well for his mother, who is in the hospital. So wishing the best for her, and of course, praise with the family. So that's going to wrap it up in terms of racing here. I do have the schedule to quickly cover, which we'll bring up right about here. There you go. So, of course, we've had the first 2 races now, both won by different drivers. Strauss won race 1, Stritt won race 2. So I think it's only fitting if another driver with the last name starting with an S wins the next race at Homestead. Of course, we've got a 13-round season, Auto Club, Texas, Spa, Daytona, Nashville, Motegi, Monza, Michigan, Atlanta, and finally Indianapolis will complete the season. So let's see if we can find somebody available for an interview. And David Stritt is not here yet, so we'll just give him a quick moment to get ready, maybe get the mic set up if he needs to. And then we'll get chatting to him here very shortly. But yeah, Jack, just your thoughts on the racing today. I've given mine. What are yours?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as you said, with the single plane, with the sort of less active first few laps, I thought that things would settle down quite quickly. But obviously, we had our fair share of cautions. I think we had 3 in the end, rather than what you predicted to be 2. So a little bit more action in that sense. But I mean, it was really interesting to see the drivers sort of figure out and learn and sort of understand the way they would need to race around this circuit this evening to sort of maximize the positions and maximize what they could achieve from the circuit and the grip levels and ideally, you know, try and get the best result possible. It was really unfortunate for Roden Efting there. I mean, he was looking so strong. I could go as far as saying dominating the large part of the race, you know, 80 laps led. That's the odd, you know, 60 laps more than the next closest driver. And but it all slipped away just because of one small miscalculation with the fuel, which, you know, dropped him from the lead to being P6 plus a lap down. And David Stritt with the win, obviously. I think he knows 1 or 2 things around this Phoenix Raceway. I noted in my notes before going on broadcast here that he was actually quite a successful driver in this championship around this circuit in previous seasons. I believe it's something like 2 wins that he has previous to this. So he's sure keeping up his tally of Phoenix race wins in the International IndyCar League. And hopefully he can start to mount some sort of championship charge from here on out. It'd be interesting to see as many cars as possible in contention for that championship.
Yep, doesn't seem we have David Stritt with us though, so yeah, that's going to wrap it up for coverage here today. The next race will be at the Homestead Miami Speedway next week. We'll see what the scheduling allows for the both of us to be here next week. I do believe I should be here, so Jack, we'll talk about this off the air, but there will be coverage of the next race, 100% guaranteed, whether it's solo or duo commentating. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, congratulations to David Stritt on a well-deserved win and the rest of the podium finishers. Once again, I want to thank Jason Lowe and David Stritt, the administrators of the league, for allowing us to cover their league. Of course, this is basically a passion project to gain some experience for the both of us, Jack and myself, but it is nice nonetheless to be able to do this for good racers and people who know what they're doing with running a league. So thanks to those people, everyone who came out to race and to watch today. And Jack, any closing thoughts before we sign off?
No, it was a fantastic race in the end. I thought it was good entertainment levels, and obviously, congratulations to the winner today. And again, like you said, thank you to the Indy League, the International IndyCar League, for letting us commentate on their action-packed races. And I can't wait to be back for more.
100%. So that's going to wrap it up, as mentioned. The next race will be in the new year, so want to wish everybody a happy new year in advance. And we'll see you guys in 7 days for round 3 of the season at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Thank you guys for watching. And of course, also make sure to do the good stuff for us to help the channel out, like and subscribe. I'm sure you guys have heard this a million times about other channels, and whether that's on live streams or videos. So you guys will know what to do. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week at Homestead. Thank you guys.